Hello, options traders, and welcome to the weekend update here. It is Saturday, October 26th. As you will recall, I've kept the number of positions light as we're going into the election. In addition to that, we have a huge earnings week next week. All the massive companies are reporting earnings with Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and literally hundreds of them. So it could be a little bit of a tumultuous week next week. And how next week plays out, of course, is going to set up the following week for the election. And I will be looking to potentially add a trade if the right opportunities occur. In my mind, one of the right opportunities is a pullback to be able to add another broken wing butterfly, or what I refer to as a BWB. And we need a decent pullback, volatility spiking, and then I would consider adding one of these out in the future at some point. This trade, the diagonal trade, I took off one of the two diagonals. Ignore this dashed line for right now. That was when I was anticipating adding a second diagonal. I had an order floating out there. It never filled. That order, I'm not looking to fill that at this point. So while my diagram is still showing the potential for adding that, I'm not looking to add that at this point. And then our FTNT continues to chunk along. This is the wheel strategy, and it's moving along just fine as this continues to decay over the next couple of weeks without a sizable pullback. Again, it'd have to be over 5 points on this. If it decays above this 75, which I would expect it to at this point, we should have about $2,000 in profit in this trade then, and have never owned the stock. I just keep selling puts on this, so when it does ever get put to me, my cost basis will be significantly lower than $75 in this case. So now let's go and take a look at our charts. So if we take a look at the SPX, as I had mentioned last week, I was expecting that there would be a little bit of a pullback right here to this 57.50 range, which we did get. And then we rallied a little higher here on Friday, but then sold off. So that's a little bit of maybe a tell. We didn't break to a new high. But again, next week, major earnings week, we're going to see some significant movement. The question is it going to be a pullback or will we break out again? Now, my expectation is probably more of a pullback, maybe to this 56.50 range, possibly a little chop sideways. And so I would expect, again, during the week next week, probably in this 5,900 range to 56.50, and probably a channel. It's going to have some big moves on days of big announcements, but largely I suspect we'll stay in a channel. And then the following week, with election, we'll have to see what that brings. So that's SPX. RUT continues to follow this general uptrend, forming a flag pattern here. We're flat across the top. We're making higher lows. So this could, right now I'm thinking probably in this 2170 range, that we'd pull back into here, maybe rally back up to this 2280. Again, likely chop in a range here. It's not out of the question that this could drop out below this. If it does, then I think we're down here into this, 2100 range. And we're still looking at a range from this, 2120, I would call it, up to the 2300 range. But more likely than not, we'll be in this tighter range here through the week next week. So that's RUT. Then we look at the volatility index, and that is starting to spike a little bit with the sell-off we had on Friday. So I would expect if we get a little more sell-off, VIX will probably pop up into this 24 range here. And then as we get into the election, depending on how that plays out, whether it's, smooth transition, regardless of who it is, if the transition goes smoothly, then I think this will drop back down. If we end up with, some contention, then we're likely to get a spike that following week, and we'll have to see how large that spike is. It is this spike that has me a little bit concerned and why I'm staying light on positions, because positions where you are selling premium, which is my main style, the butterflies or even the calendar's diagonals, etc. Those types of positions, particularly the butterflies, don't act well when volatility increases. When the volatility is higher, that's when you want to put those positions on, because as we're selling premium, you get more money then for those short puts. That's in my deep dive course, about 10 hours on butterflies. That's one of the principles I try to get across in that course. So I'll put a link to that course down below as well in case anyone is interested in that specifically, and all the details on butterflies, when to put them on, how to adjust them in up markets, how to adjust them in down markets, etc. But for now, that's it for the weekend update here for the end of October. And take care, everyone.